form. I grew up worshiping her. Actually, all of this, my entire career, I owe to her and John Waters and Frankenfurter, quite frankly.
Yes.
That's what created Peaches Christ.
We would have never guessed that.
She's an icon. I mean, in the truest sense of the word, she is a legendary legend and is being awarded that award. That's an award now at DragCon this weekend. And I just love her so much. We met about 20 years ago when we started doing versions of this show at Midnight Mass. I can't give her a big enough welcome. You know her. She is the icon known as Elvira. It's the one, the only. Let's hear Los Angeles for Cassandra!
Yeah!
It's very.
If you ever ask about me, I was more.
Say it.
Helmar was more than just a great set of boobs. He was also an incredible pair of legs. Sexy shoes, right?
Yeah, I love those.
That's what the kids are wearing now.
So,
the old ladies.
Cassandra,
Yes.
by the point in the 80s when the movie was made, you had already been on television for the better part of the decade, hosting horror movies that were made by other people. And I know that around that time, the president, I believe, Brandon Tartikoff of NBC, was really urging you to do a sitcom, but you said, no, I want to make a movie. So what was the decision to bring Elvira from hosting other movies to a movie of your own?
Well, if I could go back and do it over again, I would go with Brandon's suggestion and make a damn TV show. Oh, my God. I mean, I really would. But in those days, believe it or not, early 80s, if you were a television star, you never could transition to a film. It would never, ever happen. I mean, maybe there was somebody who did it, maybe John Travolta did it, but that was years later. You know, and Scientology was involved. But anyways, but you know, if you did TV, you were a TV actor. You didn't make a film later. But if you did a film, you could always go back and do TV. So I had this brilliant idea that I was going to do a movie first, and then I'd go do TV. The TV part didn't work out. But anyway, yeah, if I could go back and do it again, I would. But that was my reasoning.
I mean, you were a TV star. I mean, that's the thing. I grew up watching you on TV, showing movies. You know, Movie Macabre was where I learned about so many movies. So I think, you know, you were a TV star. And, you know.
But it was local, it was syndicated, it was very, you know, it wasn't, you know, everybody thinks I was raking in the bucks. I was on like local TV, it was syndicated. It was like $1,000 every, you know, few weeks. Or you know, I never made the kind of money that anybody on a sitcom ever got, that's for sure. But it wasn't about money, it was about, what was it about? I don't know.
I just have to say for the record, thank God you made a movie. That's what I have to say. I love the movie so much.
I love the movie. I gotta tell you, I never had more fun in my whole life without laying down. It was the best experience of my life. I mean, making it, writing it with John Paragon and Sam Egan, we had the most fun in the world. We were just cracking each other up all day, every day, sitting in this little place, eating Subway sandwiches and thinking of jokes, and then shooting it was just like fantastic. It was like a dream job, and I've made, you know, worked on films since, you know, Peaches and other, and you know, Honey
Well,
Girls
basically,
and everything.
what
And it
you're
was
about to
always
say is
kind
just
of really
not
hard
bad.
work.
Yeah, it's hard. But you were going to say All About Evil was a nightmare. compared to
I was.
Misstress? Yeah.
No, but no, All About Evil was awesome. I loved doing it, but it was work. I had to remember lines. In Mistress of the Dark, because I wrote them, I remembered them. I mean, I really did, so they were in my head. But when I had to learn other people's lines, that's why it was in improv.
Well, it's interesting that you
Remember
mentioned
lines.
the era of not bridging the gap between TV and film, because when you talk about your co-writers, I know that it was actually due a little bit to the Fall Guy and a guest spot that you had on that helped kind of bridge the gap into the movie as far as your co-writer, Sam Egan, went?
Yeah, I went on the Fall Guy. I was on there a couple times with the Carradine family. It was so bizarre. And I had a great time. They were a really fun bunch of people. But I guess they must have been NBC too, right? Were they? I don't know. Brandon Tartikoff. I don't know. I think that's how he saw me. But what was the whole point of that story? Oh yeah.
From Fall Guy to Mistress of the Dark.
Oh yeah. Being on there, I met Sam Egan, who was a writer, and he is just a wonderful writer. He came along to keep John and I in line. I mean, we were first-time writers. We'd written sketches of the Groundlings and stuff, and different little vignettes on different TV show, cable stuff. But we had not really written a film, and so they put Sam in charge of us. He was like the dad, and he kept us, John and I in control, but in a good way. And he was brilliant. I mean, what he lent to the movie, just giving it some structure and, making it go forward like an actual movie. We were used to just being like,
Still wild after all.
yeah, that was us. So he was a nice, counterbalance to us.
Well, if you all were a little bit crazy, I think it's worth noting here that you were part of a kind of a cult of people that were born out of the Groundlings. And John Paragon, yes, like John Paragon, the writer, is best known as Johnby, the genie on Pee-wee's Playhouse. Of course, Cassandra and Paul Rubens were best friends. And, in this movie, we've got people like Edie McClure, other Groundlings. But the one I always like to point out is, especially for an audience like this, that's so obviously not heterosexual, is that the legendary drag queen Joey Arias is in this film. And Joey Arias, of course, still performs to this day in full geesh, singing Billie Holiday. But Joey Arias shows up, and Joey was one of your Groundling friends, right?
Joey Arias, I met him in New York. We worked at Fiorucci's together. I was the espresso bar girl, and Joey was like the star salesperson. And we just clicked, immediately, of course, And it turns out Joey was one of the founding members of the Groundlings. That's so bizarre. I meet him in New York, and he was in the Groundlings when they first started. So that was amazing. But he was in it. Edie, we wrote that part for Edie, because Edie was kind of a pill, I used to come into Groundlings, and she'd be sitting there doing her makeup, and she'd go, "Is that what you're wearing tonight?" And she'd be, "Are you wearing a bra?" She would, so John and I said, Edie's got to be Chastity Pariah.
Yes.
So that was perfect. We wanted to put every single damn Groundling in the movie, but there were only so many parts. Of course, we made a lot of people pissed off at the Groundlings, because we didn't hire them. Lynn Stewart had a wonderful part, but only one line. She was in there. Miss Yvonne, the most beautiful woman in Puppet Land, by the way. But she just had that one line. Would you like? What was it? Would you like a virgin?
Oh,
I
yeah.
say maybe later.
Yeah. You
Would
say,
you like a virgin?
I'll think about it, but after I've had a few drinks first.
I think she said, "Would you like a Bloody Mary?" Okay, we're gonna argue about. Would you like a Bloody Mary? I said, "I like a Bloody Mary." She said, "Oh, no alcohol served after 7." She said, "Would you like a virgin?" I said, "Maybe after a couple drinks." Yeah. Okay.
So, as Peaches maybe not so subtly alluded to, this film has a huge queer fan base. And I think, obviously. And when I think about this movie, and I'm glad that we have already connected to the character of Chastity Pariah and the inclusion of Edie, because when I think of the film, Edie's really the true antagonist because she represents the normativity of the town. When Elvira arrives and meets Uncle Vinny, you kind of laugh at him because he's absurd. He's a horror movie villain. But the real challenge is the otherness and overcoming that, and I think that's what queer audiences really connected to.
That's a good question, because I was just going to ask you two. What is it about that movie that is so good?
Well, I think, Peaches, wouldn't you say it's a bit of that, right?
Well, and also Elvira likes cock, you know. She likes a lot of dicks and wears fabulous big hair. I mean, hello, gays love that stuff.
I just wasn't sure why it was so good.
But to that point, was there a certain point where you recognized that this audience that had attached itself to this film was skewing LGBTQIA, or was that an overtime discovery?
I think it was kind of over time. We didn't set out to do that, but you know, John and my humor was pretty gay. Yeah, it wasn't like a goal or anything, but that certainly did come along, and you know, I'm thrilled that it did. So I don't know how that happened.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think a more serious answer is that you're hilarious while also being clever and making fun of normalcy.
Yes.
You know, and so it's like, yes, right? Like,
Well, because I think, to a less fabulous degree, if you are queer from small town America, we've all felt like Elvira going to Falwell. That there's that experience.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's the being the misfit, not being able to be who you really feel like you are, having to tone everything down, having to be other than, you know, which one. Just so yeah, I would say that's probably why. And the fabulous hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
now, the movie, you know, I feel like this film gets better with age. It's like every time I watch it, I'm like, this movie is so good. And we know that RuPaul has declared it her favorite movie of all time. We know that Drag Race has lifted a lot from your writing and your film.
Yes.
Yeah, when I saw that T-shirt that RuPaul has, it said, which one was it? I don't know, one of it. When
How's your head?
Yeah, how's your head? Well, that one. And if I want your opinion, I'll be that. I thought, okay, I have to make T-shirts to say, sashay away.
I really think you should. That would be amazing. You better work. You better work.
That's my new T-shirt.
Good, I love it. Yeah. We'll all buy it, right?
Yes.
Speaking of the drag in this movie, you obviously have spoken quite a bit over the years about Elvira as drag queen. But there is another drag artist in this film, and we have to talk about Gonk. Because this dog is fabulous. And I understand that Gonk, as fabulous as Gonk appears on screen, was a little more tricky to work with. So
Very tricky. Nasty, nasty little dog. And I love dogs, and in particular poodles. I have a little poodle mix now. It's a schnoodle. It's a poodle mixed with schnauzer or something. Who has a bright pink mohawk, of course. Vinny, named after Vincent Price. We call him Vinny the Pea. Sometimes we call him Vinny the Pooh, depending on what happens. But anyway, Gonk, was 3 dogs. It was 3 trained little poodles. One did one thing, one did another, and one did another. One was blind, and so got to be thrown in the trash can. But there was a person in there catching. I know.
Oh my God.
I gotta tell you guys, I'm a big animal rights person, and that dog was treated about 1,000 times better than I was. So, he had his own share. He got food. He got breaks. Nothing. I didn't get any of that. So no, we were very careful with the animals. But the main Gonk, Benny, his name was Benny actually, and he bit Kurt Fuller, who was the real estate agent, very badly on the leg. Kurt had to have the medics.
He deserved it.
He snapped at me several times, and I just pulled my hand away in time. And I had to take all these pictures of him, I'm like, he's gonna bite my nose off. But anyway, he was brilliant. He did do a brilliant job, I think.
I mean, he does come across as a little bit intimidating when you watch the film, but I have to say, I went and stayed with you last year, and Vinny, who looks like Gonk, is actually got a little, like, she won't admit it, but when they're walking around the neighborhood, if Vinny sees another dog, he's basically Gonk, you know?
He's a
So-
punk,
it's punk
when
rock.
he comes out, and he'll kick any dog's ass. He'll rush right out there and bite them.
no, I saw. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about. We've talked about the groundlings, but there is also, I think, a really interesting story, a tidbit that I always like you bringing up about who almost was cast. You have great teenagers in the film. Actually, one of the teenagers went on to be in Dream Warriors, one of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street films.
Ira?
Ira, yes.
I think, is Ira here?
We heard he might be here tonight.
Ira, are you here?
Awkward.
Freddie.
I relied. But am I right in remembering this, that someone auditioned?
Yeah, when we were casting, I got to be in on the casting, which was a really interesting process. And of course, I want to hire everybody because having been an actress out there, you know, trying to get work, I just felt so sorry for everyone, you know, and I wanted to hire them all. But we have this guy come in for one of the teenagers, the part that Chris Cam ended up playing the blonde teenager guy, and he came in, and oh my God, he was the most beautiful looking guy I'd ever seen in my life. I was dying, and turned out to be Brad Pitt. And we turned him down because I said to everybody else that was casting, if that guy is in this movie and my boyfriend is, you know, Dan Green, I will be chasing that boy, and he's supposed to be underage, so it's not a good look. So I said, we just can't have somebody better looking than everybody in the cast, you know. And I had little notes I wrote. I still have it, and I wrote by his name, Yum Yum.
All you need to know.
Well, and speaking of almost casting, you spoke about how your dog currently is named for Vincent Price, and you famously shared a great friendship with Vincent Price. The uncle in this movie, I heard you wanted Vincent Price to play, but is it true he thought the film was too racy? And what's too racy for Vincent Price?
I don't think it was Vincent that thought it was too racy. I'm pretty sure it was his wife, Coral Brown.
She wore the pants in that
boy,
family.
she did not want me around Vincent. I mean, I'd come around, we'd see each other. Vincent, you go, oh, darling, Vincent's busy right now. So she got friendlier with me as time went on, but in the beginning it was like, I couldn't get 10 feet, you know, close to the guy.
Wasn't there a story where you were at his house and he sort of snuck you over and she came home unexpectedly? Oh. Isn't it amazing?
No, she came in
What did
and
he
he
say?
wasn't supposed to be there. Oh God, I don't know if I can say
Oh,
this. but
sorry.
I'll tell you. Okay, remember, this is not me saying it, but
It's
sitting
just
in
the
there
Academy
and
Museum.
Vincent, cameras, and she didn't want anybody in there with cameras or doing any shooting or anything. And we hear the door open, and we hear, "God damn son of a bitch, motherfucker!" And he goes, "That would be my wife." She was pretty tough, yeah. But she ended up being wonderful after we got to know each other. She knew I wasn't trying to, you know, horn in on their relationship.
Well, in terms of objections to material, you named the town Falwell.
Guess who?
Yeah, was there ever any pushback from the Christian right about naming it for Mr. Jerry?
You know, no, I never really heard any. I mean, I had pushback from the Christian right. You know, like I had a big billboard in the South, and it was just me laying on my side, the typical, you know, pose. And a lot of Christian people, you know, called up and didn't, you know, said they couldn't have that cleavage on the billboard in town. And so they put a big banner across my boobs that was censored. And then they had millions of complaints. Then everybody was calling, going, you have to get that off of there. But it was funny, my show, my TV show, the most popular place that it was the Bible Belt.
That's not surprising. As someone who's done many conventions with Cassandra, actually dressed up as Elvira, I will tell you that the drag queen can spot these dorks a mile away. They wait in line, they're shaking when they get up there, and then they proceed to try to tell her that she's the first person they ejaculated to. It's true. And poor Cassandra, as Elvira, is just smiling. She doesn't know what they're trying to say. Yeah.
I love talking about ejaculation at the Academy.
All of us young boys, we either wanted to do her or we wanted to be her.
My favorite story is every time I have so many gay men come up and go, "You saved me when I was a kid," and I go, "I did? What I do?" And they go, "Well, I had your poster up in my bedroom, and my parents were, oh, thank God."
You used to tell that story, so I put that actual thing in All About Evil. So, yes, I got that from you. Okay, so as the drag queen on the stage, I have to ask, rewatching the film, there are so many iconic shots and looks, like the scarf in your hair when you're driving the macabre mobile, you know, the shot of you in the bed with the ridiculous hair tendrils like all around. Of course, the titty tassel sequence and that whole Vegas look at the end. Do you have a favorite kind of like look? And were you involved in sort of the drag of it all and creating these, you know, images?
I was 100% involved. I was like, I want to do this. I want my hair to be over the top and just flowing and fabulous. I pretty much designed what the nightgown would look like. The scarf was my idea because I wanted to look like Audrey Hepburn or something. I don't know. And I love that, you know, very not Elvira. And yeah, everything was pretty much our idea, you know, what we should be doing, what we should be dressing up as. At the end, of course, I've been twirling tassels, you know, since I was like 14, so it's like riding a bike, it just came back. It's my one true talent I have to put in the movie.
The twirling tassels, is it true that you had like a terrible flu during that sequence?
Horrible flu. This was, okay, you're not gonna believe this. The movie happened. We wrapped shooting on the day that the tar was poured on me. The night,
wow.
What do you call it? What's the song? Flashdance.
Oh, yeah.
Flashdance. That was it. Movie was done. And I went into Brandon Tartikoff's office. I said, I have to see Brandon. We need more money to shoot the ending. And they said, I'm sorry, we're over budget. It's over, it's done. And they said, you're gonna have this movie without the Las Vegas part. It was gonna end when I'm sitting on the porch and the old guy drives up with my car. That was gonna be the end.
What?
And I sat in Brandon Tartikoff's office for about, I don't know how many hours, waiting. I said, I'm just gonna wait till he comes. They say, no, he's not here. I said, I don't care, I'll wait. I went in there and started crying, begging, pleading. You have to have a scene. It's not going to work without it. I mean, could you imagine the movie just ending? Oh, I didn't get to Las Vegas.
Thank God.
Yeah, so anyway, they finally agreed. Okay, we're gonna have one day, we're gonna shoot it at Raleigh Studios. We're gonna make this set. It wasn't exactly like John and I wanted. We wanted a swimming pool where we had all these synchronized swimming. Yeah, I have that written down. Like, it was fantastic what it was gonna be like, but we got what we got. And anyway, that day, I wake up with 103 fever, so sick I could hardly stand, burning up, dying, and it didn't matter. I said, I am doing this damn scene. I don't care what happens, you know? So I mean, I'm not bragging about how awesome I am, but it was like a one in a, you know, you can't do it again. They rented the place, they had the crew, the cast, everybody there. It was like today or never. So you know how as a performer, it really does. When you're an actor, you just pull your shit together and you do it. It doesn't matter what happened. Your parents died that day in a car crash, whatever. You just have to go out.
It's true. It's absolutely. And somehow your adrenaline kicks in and you get through it, and then you're basically on death's door.
Yeah.
So when they see the scene tonight, Now
Yeah,
you
keep
really
that
have
going.
to cheer extra hard because she went through hell to tackle those.
Yeah, it was so depressing. I mean, it was just, oh God, I'm just so glad I got through it. But it was a lot more work because I couldn't really think straight, to think of my dance moves that I'd learned and all. It was so hard.
Now I know when I have a fever, I disassociate. So like later, were you watching it and like, oh, that's what happens with daily?
Maybe, I don't remember after later. I don't remember. I just remember going in the trailer and like dropping on the bed in there and couldn't move. But anyway, I'm glad that came out and that it got to be in the movie because I just can't imagine the movie without that little.
No, it has to have that fabulous drag finale. I mean, it's perfect. Now, the movie came out, and of course, it's received, it's released, and then, it kind of goes away. And then over the years, like little by little, there are those of us who watched it incessantly on TV, on cable television. I had the poster, I had the VHS tape, I was obsessed with the movie. And all these years later, I remember when we first started doing these shows, you were almost surprised by the response. Because the audience would come and they would know every line, and people have made this movie their religion, like RuPaul. And now you get to see it kind of live on in this incredible way. And what's that like today, to get to look back and see this thing you created so long ago affect all these people?
Well, for one, it's like vindication because we just, we really believed in it and that it was really funny and that it was going to be great. And then when it came out, and it's still sounds like sour grapes, but it came out, released, in theaters. It was supposed to be released in, I don't know, I can't remember the numbers, but a couple thousand theaters with 2,500 or something across the United States. And then New World, who was the distributor of the movie, went bankrupt on the first day. And that means that all the theaters, I don't know if you know how that works, but all the theaters pulled it because they didn't have any money behind advertising, posters, anything like that. They couldn't keep it in the theaters, so they just dropped it. So the movie that was doing fantastic for a day just tanked. And that was it. It was out of the theaters. It was gone. And I don't know if anybody here read my autobiography, but you heard me bitch about this in the book. I just went into the deepest depression ever. It was like having a stillborn, child. Okay, not that bad, but it wasn't a baby.
It can still shock me.
But it was like a little baby. We had so much faith that it was just going to be a huge hit, and then, dead. And I was so depressed for so long, and it never really came back until they started selling a lot in home videos. Remember those, Blockbuster, and then it ended up in the 60 top video rentals of all time. That's amazing. Unfortunately, I didn't get any money really from all that. I would have gotten money if it would have been a big blockbuster hit. But the sad downside to all that was when you go look to make another movie, you go into the office and they say, what were the numbers? How much did your movie make? Very little amount. And so, bye-bye. Could not make another movie to save my soul. I pitched them for years. John and I I have a closet full of other movie, scripts that we could not sell.
What was the time gap between Mistress of the Dark and Elvira's Haunted Hills?
It was a pretty long time. I don't even remember. The Haunted Hills came out in the 90s. Something. I don't remember any of those years.
92.
It was 2000, right? So it was
2000.
They know, 2002.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we made it in the end of the 90s. And it was, Mistress of the Dark came out in 88. So there's like...
Now, someone who might actually have shown up is the director of Haunted Hill, Sam Irvin. Is he in the audience tonight?
Sam?
Oh, there he is.
I paid for it. I my money, and don't ever do that. And financed that film. My ex-husband and I. And oh boy, But the movie was great, but yeah, don't put your own money into a film.
So you talk about going into Brandon Tartikoff's office and saying, we need this Vegas scene. And anybody who's a filmmaker knows the heartbreak of going over budget and having to cut things. Luckily, you got that scene, that iconic scene that ends the movie. But as with any project, I'm wondering, are there sequences that you had to leave out that you wish all these years later you could have kept? Or
There were. I read the original script, and now I'm trying to think of them. But there were quite a few little scenes that we really wanted to put in there, but because of the money and the budget and everything, we couldn't. I'm racking my brain now what they are, but reading the original script, it's really funny. Mostly they were just things were a lot more fabulous, you know. They were like not so cheapy and crappy. But yeah, I wish I could think of someday I'm gonna have to go through all that and do the write down the scenes that did not make it into the movie, because there were plenty of, and a lot of lines. Oh God, the censors came. We did not want an R-rated movie. Did not, because R-rated movies don't make as much money as PG movies. So there were so many lines we had to cut that were so damn funny, but and I have those written down somewhere too. But
Oh my God. Okay, so at the very least, we need like that full script, and we'll do like a table reading for the public. We'll do it right here in the Academy. Right, Academy? They said yes.
I'm gonna do the synchronized swimming team.
Oh, we'll figure, you know me, I can figure it all out. Yeah.
you talked about Macabmobile, the book that Uncle Vinny has. There's so many great props in this movie, but one that I'm really obsessed with is the painting of you as the ant that was done by Robert Redding. And the movie is dedicated to his honor, and I know that you developed the look of the character of Elvira with him, and I was just wondering if you could speak about him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Redding was a guy that he and I were in a band. I don't know if you'd call it a band. It was a show. It was a comedy, singing, dancing comedy show called Mama's Boys that we came up with. And it was me and 7 gay men, of course. And I was Mama. She was your winner. And we toured across the whole United States in clubs all over, every major city, and performed. And Robert just became one of my closest best friends, like a brother. And he was an artist, a wonderful artist. I mean, really did such beautiful, beautiful work, and mostly portraiture of people. And so when I got this part of Elvira, I was just dressed like a normal person, and they said, come up with the characters. So I went straight to Robert and said, oh my God, would you draw some pictures and stuff? Because I gotta take it into them to tell them, what, so we can decide what to wear. And Robert, my first thing that we did was we wanted to make it look like Sharon Tate in The Fearless Vampire Killers, because we were both obsessed with her in that movie. So that was our first thing. And then when we took it into the little local station, the station manager was like, nah, has to be all black. Yeah, black hair, yeah. So we were like back to the drawing board. So we were trying to get away from the Morticia Addams vampire look, but what are you gonna do? It's a spooky woman, supposed to be sexy. I mean, how many ways are there to go? So, Robert just kind of tried to make it kind of 80s, vibe, and that's how it ended up. But if it wasn't for Robert, and he did that wig for me, he sewed that dress, he did my makeup. He was an actor also, and he had done the play, the Shakespeare play. What is it? Othello? Hecate, the witch. Is that an Othello? No, Macbeth.
Macbeth, yes.
He had done.
Are we allowed to say that?
No, you're not allowed to say it.
This is a
He had
cinema.
done the play. And that was his makeup that he had done on himself. It was the Elvira makeup, and he had gotten it out of a kabuki makeup book. And so he said, you should wear that makeup that I did for Hecate. And so he did it on me, and so, I mean, really, if it wasn't for Robert, I wouldn't, and he sadly died of AIDS a couple years after that. But man, if he hadn't been around, I don't know what the hell I would be looking like.
Well, I mean, I think we can see when, never, I'm not even gonna say that, but does take sometimes a fabulous queen to be behind the scenes working on folks, you know, to make sure they look good. And if you look at the RNC convention,
Grindr is popping off there right now.
Grindr may be popping off, but the looks are not giving. So Cassandra, we've talked so much about this fantastic movie, but I've never asked you this, and I was thinking about it this afternoon, and I was like, what's a question I've never asked her? We've done these sorts of shows a lot, and I was thinking
everything.
I've asked you everything, but all these years, what has been the best part of being Elvira?
Best part. Okay, it's not dressing up.
We've bonded a lot over how much we both hate
Oh
drag.
yeah, I mean, you know, it just gets harder every year. I hate to say it, but you'll see.
So when you look at that, you don't miss it.
No, the honest to God, the best part, and I'm not saying this because I'm like so adorable. It's the fans that love the character, and I would have never dreamed in a billion years that it would have made such a big difference to people. And the letters I get, and the kids I meet that say things to me like how I saved their lives and stuff. I mean, I get very verklempt when I start talking about this. I really do, because people have come up to me just sobbing and say, if it wasn't for you, and I'm going like, really? I can't believe it. I can't wrap my head around it. But now I finally do believe it, because I've been told that a billion times. And that is the absolute best part. If I didn't do anything else as Elvira, it's like knowing that I made a difference to some people out there, even if it was one, but it's not one, it's a lot. And that always blows my mind. I don't get it. I don't fully get it, but
I think it's amazing working with folks like you and obviously John Waters and people who've done these incredible things, and you don't understand, truly you don't, that they have changed our lives. You know, these contributions, your character changed us. Like, fundamentally, I'm different because I was your fan. And we are so deeply, like, it's almost a spiritual thing, you know?
We love you.
Yeah, we love you.
I'm not kidding when I say that. I mean, if it wasn't for my fans, I mean, where would I be? I don't know, I wouldn't be anywhere.
One question that we always ask guests on the show, and I probably asked you when you were on, is about the changing relationship you have with the movie or the character or the fandom. But as you're speaking about it now, what I think is really profound and special is that it's everything. It's incremental realizations to being Elvira. And do you feel like you still learn from her every day?
Oh yeah, incremental is exactly the word. It sneaks up on you. You don't see it coming, you know? But I was blown away again when I put my autobiography out there, and how many people related to it and wrote me and got a hold of me and told me, you know, how that changed their life. I mean, it's just bizarre, you know? You just don't see it coming, and it just it creeps up. So who knows? Next, what the hell will I do? I don't know.
You keep doing stuff, that's for sure. But I think
going
with
to.
the autobiography, which of course I know you've been working on for a long time, and it was so great, and you hit such a home run, and your vulnerability in the book and your honesty, and the fact that it's still hilarious, and it's like you deal with a lot of tragedy and honesty. And reading the book and then watching the movie again, what was interesting was like the creeps at the beginning of the movie, like the studio guy who you push down on the floor. But now, knowing you and read your book, it's like that's in a comedy film, this misogynist pig who's going after Elvira, but that, like, you really dealt with that, you know, fairly regularly.
Dealt with it, so we just tried to sum it up in one big creepy guy, you know? But yeah, all those things. It was kind of, I did put a lot of my life, I think, and if you read the autobiography, I think in the movie, if you have read the book, you'll see a lot of things in the movie that, oh yeah, I get why she did that. And, you know, because it was kind of a combination of my life and Wizard of Oz. That is sort of what the premise of this movie is. If you look, you'll see a lot of references to Wizard of Oz, very subtle bit. And I had another scene. Oh, damn it, the green light is on. But I did have a scene, I remembered a scene. There was a fantastic speech that I was supposed to get, and it was cut. It was on the editing room floor, you know, as they say. But it was about me talking like Judy Garland at the end about, you know, in the end, your own backyard is right behind your house.
I really like that you say this movie is your allusion to The Wizard of Oz, because John Waters famously says that he doesn't understand why Dorothy would want to wake up and go back to Kansas instead of seeing where all the fabulous people are. And we agree. But what I think is interesting is that Elvira is Oz. You're the fantasy that we all want to live, and you changed that town, you changed all of us. And I think that that's amazing, because you took that and put it into the character. And I think that, you know, it's a special thing, because most of us want to go to Oz, but you brought Oz to us.
You're wearing it.
I will say that I think his shoes are actually gayer than my full drag. Wow.
Girl, I know you're trying.
Oh my God. So Cassandra, we are wrapping up. You obviously never stop working. You never stop putting out stuff. I hear that if anyone wants to actually meet you and get something signed, you'll be doing a signing tomorrow.
At Funko Pop store, my new Funko Pop coming out tomorrow. So I'll be at the Funko store on Hollywood Boulevard tomorrow. But I am writing 2 more books right now. Turned one in last week, and I'm finishing this other one up. I think they're both going to be out in 2025. And working on a documentary.
Leaving us in anticipation as ever.
That's about all I can say about it right now.
Well, I know I speak for the entire Academy Museum audience when I say we love you so much.
Yes.